Go ahead and speak in the microphone.
Why did Virginia Tech choose to investigate the Flint water?
Oh, okay. Questions, why did we investigate Flint water? Unfortunately, we knew something like Flint was going to happen, so I'm going to talk about that today. We didn't know where or when, but we knew that, unfortunately, that the laws weren't being followed around the United States to protect kids from lead in water. And so when we got the phone call, we knew the second we heard it that this was the real deal. And we knew we had to help because it was us or nobody.
What can we do as citizens to monitor our government and community officials when problems like this arise, or to prevent problems like this from arising?
Okay, that is an incredibly good question. So the first thing to realize is that everyone is a scientist. I often tell people the actual person who figured out what was going wrong in Flint, Michigan was a mom. And she had a natural experiment in front of her, 2 twin boys. And one of them was not growing as fast as the other. And she wanted to know why. And so Miss Walters, the mom, is actually the one who figured out that her child was lead poisoned, that the source was lead in the water, and that the state was lying to the EPA about the water being safe. So this mom figured this out all on her own. I really didn't do any of the science except tell her she wasn't crazy. So I often tell people, the most powerful scientific force in the universe, it's probably a mom concerned about the health of her children. But everyone here is also a scientist because you're a living experiment. And every observation that you make going about your daily life, you can discover something that helps you have a better life. You can discover something that helps other people have a better life. And part of that is holding government officials responsible for doing their job, unfortunately.
How can we test for lead in our water supply at home? Are there independent labs or places not affiliated with government agencies where people can take their own tap water and be tested for contaminants?
Okay, great question. So everyone would love to have a test that you could just get a glass of water, stick something in there, and tell you if the lead's safe. If so, what level of lead in the water. Unfortunately, there's no simple, cheap test to do that. And there's a lot of reasons for that. One reason is that only a little teeny tiny amount of lead can really hurt you. And so that means you need a very expensive piece of equipment to find the lead. The second problem is that a lot of the lead that's harming us now, it's not dissolved in water. A lot of the cheaper tests find lead that's dissolved in water, like sugar or salt dissolved in water. It's little pieces of metal, like little dust-like particles, chemically similar to lead paint chips. And so when it's a particle, it makes it very, very difficult to find. So unfortunately, you have to find an outside lab. The tests are not cheap. We've set up a program with a nonprofit called Healthy Babies, Bright Futures, and for $65, people can pay to have 3 tests done at their house. That's actually a break-even cost for us. So unfortunately, there's not really a great alternative to trusting the engineers and scientists who we pay to protect us. And so my philosophy is we really should make them more trustworthy. They're doing a job, we're paying them a lot of money to protect us. They have no reason to lie to us. And so that's where our focus is, but you can pay an outside lab to do these tests for you for $20 per sample. Yep. I hope it doesn't come to that, where we all have to test our water, but unfortunately that's the world we live in now. Yep.
How do we know our water here in St. Louis is safe to drink?
Okay. Well, as we'll learn today, part of what's being a human, part of what's being a scientist is trust. Can you trust the people who are running your water supply? As we said, they're paid to do this job. They have no reason to hide it, right? So we have a system that should be working. Unfortunately, enough of these water companies have been cheating across the United States, we learned after Flint, that it's reached what's called a tipping point where a lot of people in America no longer trust their water company, even if they are trustworthy. How many bad apples do you need before people start thinking, oh my gosh, how do I know my water company is not cheating as well? So unfortunately, it's very difficult to know. We have to trust others. You can't have a large civilization without an ability to trust other people, especially science agencies. So this is kind of one of the heart of the talk I'm going to give is, as a scientist or engineer, your product is truth and your brand is trust. And once you lose the trust of the people, it's very, very hard to earn it back. So the only thing you can do is be trustworthy. But right now, unfortunately, trust in water is not very high because of Flint. Actually, last year, bottled water sales exceeded soda sales for the first time in this country because people have lost trust in our water supply. And we can't run a world without trust and being trustworthy. I know I evaded answering your question. I hope that the water company in St. Louis is trustworthy.
What other tests did you do on the water? And if so,
How it turned out. Okay. What else did we look at in the water? When we went to Flint, Michigan, we did one of the most thorough independent evaluations of a water supply in U.S. history. We looked for everything. We looked for chemicals in the water called disinfection byproducts. We looked for bacteria that can eat up pipes. We looked for bacteria that could hurt people. And we actually found high levels of a bacteria called Legionella that actually caused an outbreak of disease in Flint and actually killed 12 people. So we looked for everything. Initially, our reports, surprisingly when we went, were good. In general, we were finding that the state was getting good information about many of these chemicals. But when we looked at lead and Legionella, bad news. The water was not safe. It wasn't safe to drink because of the lead. It wasn't safe to bathe and shower in from the Legionella because you breathe it in the shower. It gets in your lungs. So we tried to look at everything we could.
So you've talked a lot about having to make our government organizations and our water companies more trustworthy. So how would you suggest doing that? Because with our government organizations, the way you would do that is implementing policy, but how would you regain that trust through organizations that don't have it to begin with?
Okay. So hopefully, when you were hearing about the Flint water crisis, I hope you did not believe what you were reading. I hope you were sitting there going, how on earth could this happen in the United States of America today? How could scientists and engineers at government agencies betray us in this way with no profit motive whatsoever? And the reason that you probably felt that way is because your heart's in the right place. You have these dreams of doing science and engineering to make the world a better place. And unfortunately, along with a lot of the technical knowledge that we teach you, both in high school, undergraduate, graduate school, and in your job, that's good. It's good to know facts. But unfortunately, we also teach you to be cynical and willfully blind, if you're not careful, to forget the person that you once were. None of these engineers and scientists who did those bad things in Flint, Michigan, I guarantee you in high school, said, you know, I want to become an engineer and scientist so I can destroy the city, poison little kids, and cause people to die from Legionnaire's disease. I guarantee you. They, like you, wanted to do science and engineering to make the world a better place. But if you are not careful in your life, you can forget the person you once were. You could forget the dreams that you had to use science and engineering to help the world. And you get tired. You get to the point that you just want to do your job and not be bothered. You can get punished for doing the right thing. That's part of the message I have today. And once you see other scientists and engineers getting punished for doing their job, you might say, well, I'm not going to be that dude. okay? And you can create a culture where you turn good people into bad people. We can do that very easily, and that's what's happened at some of these institutions. So what I feel we have to do is reach to you guys and basically tell you, never ever forget the person you once were. And that sounds easy, okay? But when people around you are being punished for doing the right things and these institutions teach you to look the other way, the default condition is for you to get cynical and willfully blind. So do not let that person be you. And part of that comes from our teaching of ethics. So that's something we have an interesting class at Virginia Tech. You can read about ethics, unethical behavior on your own. You can learn how we can teach ourselves to be willfully blind, to do bad things. It's not easy to be ethical in this world, unfortunately. Sometimes it's really hard.
Where did you go to college, and what areas of studies did you enjoy or focus on?
Okay, I don't want to spoil the talk today, but I was pretty much a failure at everything I tried to do. I was just following my heart. So I started out with biophysics because my sister told me it was the toughest major at the university and I couldn't do it. So I actually picked my major just to spite my sister. And it was really, really hard, but I did make it through, so biophysics. And then along the way, I thought, well, I want to be a marine biologist and be a dolphin trainer. Well, that was a cool dream until I got into the dolphins, and the male dolphin thought I was making moves on his female dolphins, and he rammed me and broke my ribs, and that was like the end of my career as a dolphin trainer, just like there, you know. Those dolphins look really nice, but I'm telling you, they're really jealous, okay? And I swear, I did not want to make a move on his girlfriend or anything, but then I wanted to be a medical doctor, and at that time, unfortunately, medical school was really kind of a tough place to be. It kind of taught you that to lose your empathy. And they're not doing that now. They're actually trying to retain empathy in people who go to medical school. But at the time they did, I thought, okay, I can't be a doctor. And then so ultimately I decided to become an engineer, and I'll talk about that a little bit today, and the path I went to becoming an engineer and why.
Is there anything you would suggest to us as students to help us convey to our friends and families the importance of understanding and taking seriously the work of scientists and the impact of their work on our communities and in our personal lives?
Okay. So that's a great one. So the first thing is to recognize that the history of science has always been first and foremost about helping people. And to some extent, modern science has gotten away from that. We spend all our time in our laboratories, and we pursue too much, I think, what I'll call the false gods of trying to become famous and get a lot of research money and write papers. And what I feel is that there's an important symbiotic relationship between the public and science, where if we serve the public as scientists and engineers and we're out helping them, kind of like what we did in Flint, Michigan, they will appreciate us. And because we're doing good things, they will want to give us money and listen to us, and hopefully we'll be deserving of their trust. And so one group is helping the other. And so I think it's really important as scientists and engineers to go out and work with normal people, talk to normal people. By the way, that's always been how I've been able to be successful as a professor. Frankly, I'm not really all that smart. And so how did I get my ideas? Well, normal people called me up about their problems, and I listened to them. And like I told you earlier, every person is a living experiment, right? And by listening to them and hearing about what they're seeing in their plumbing system of their house, or how their kids, what they think might make their kids sick, I got great ideas from them that I ultimately tested in my lab. So there's a lot of respect. Okay, again, normal people are scientists. A mom worried about the health of her children, she's a scientist. She could tell me something that could help me help thousands of children, as what occurred in Flint, Michigan. So I think that's it. I think it's important to listen, to be out there working with normal people, And don't forget that you're a human yourself. As a scientist or engineer, you are also human. I hope.
What are some methods that people in Flint had to do to prevent lead contamination?
Oh my gosh, okay. It's really scary. It's scary to see what happens to people who can't trust their water, and with good reason, because of lead and Legionella. It's scary to see what happens when they lose trust. There are people in Flint, Michigan today, highly educated, very bright people who tell me they will never drink water from the tap again. Some of them have also told me they will never take a bath or shower again. That's pretty scary, because taking a bath or shower prevents a lot of disease, right? So amongst the things that they've been doing to avoid the lead and Legionella, they've been drinking bottled water. They've been getting filters to pass their water through it, which are an inexpensive way to take the lead out of the water before the water used for cooking or drinking. You can't really be exposed to lead in the bath or shower because it won't go in through your skin. But some people are so afraid of the lead in the water that, again, they're not taking baths or showers. And so one of the tragedies of Flint is because this last year, because people were so afraid of taking a bath or shower, there was an outbreak of a disease called Shigella, which is transmitted when we don't wash our hands enough. And a lot of people got sick. So it's really scary to see what happens when something we take for granted like water isn't available, when we can't trust, because frankly, civilization as we know it ends. And that's what happened for 100,000 Americans in Flint, Michigan this year.
Thank you very much. Let's give Dr. Edwards a round of applause.